So here we are again. We're back.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. So we'd just like to kind of go over and talk about like a little bit of a recap of, I don't know, all we've done in the company, I guess, and things like that.
A reintroduction.
Reintroduction, yep. And to begin with, though, I mean, horses have been in our lives forever. We started out with our own farm, and with that, then we decided that, you know, with some of the problems that we had, we wanted to have more knowledge about the products themselves and so forth. So we had our own horse farm. We decided we'd kind of get into some fencing and found out that there's a lot of things about fencing that equestrians needed to know. So our whole start of the company is based upon, you know, trying to help our customers find a lot more in the products that they have to know if it's their horse's particular needs, their particular horse farm needs. So, and you guys hear about, you talk on the phones all the time with the customers, and so do you, Kim, and you know about that as well. So that's our big.
It's our foundation.
It is. So on our farm, on our horse farm, we had like 21 horses that were there. They were boarded horses, so we had all different types of horses, and found out what they did and didn't do. And a lot of times what we all know is that, you know, you've got a huge 1,200 pound, maybe 1,000 pound plus animal that can do just about anything. So on that, then we decided that the fencing that we carried had to be something that was a safer alternative. So that's what we try to do, is talk to our customers, don't we, about that, and you know, try to get the point out that our reasoning for doing it was because it happened to us. You know, we're horse people. We are horse people, and you know, it's something where we want to be sure that we tell customers about how they can have safer alternatives. So,
Absolutely. No fence is safe.
no,
horses.
there's nothing right. And I always say never with horses. Always say never say never
Yeah,
with
if there's
horses.
a will, there's a way.
So that was our thing. We wanted to try to find the safest thing that we could. So then later on, a little bit after that, we got into stalls and started to manufacture. We first started to purchase stalls and supply to our customers, and then we started fabricating and making our own stalls, which we do today on our facility, really, that we have here. We have our horses here. We have a few sheep here. And so we do the fabrication right here on location, and manufacture our fencing as well, our flex fence line. So, but the whole point was to be able to talk to customers about everything that happened in their barn, because so many different things do happen, you know, to different people with different breeds, different needs that they have. So,
Yeah, and education is a big part of it too. A big part of it for you. And
definitely is.
So, Debbie, how did you originally get into the love of horses?
So crazy enough, you know, little girl's crazy, horse crazy, right? You know, so 5 years old, you know, I've said this story so many times. I just had this dream about these horses and loved them. And of course, now I'm dating myself, but all the TV shows we watched were all the cowboy shows, you know, so I wanted to get on that horse and ride, and I just begged my parents for a horse. And really, they didn't have the money for it at all. But because I was relentless, at 5 years old, I mean, I was a salesman then, I think, you know. But anyway, at 5 years old, begged them to get a horse. And bless their hearts, they got a horse that my sister and I rode, which was really, really sweet. Then we ended up with a second horse. And that passion and that love for horses, once it's in you, I just say it's in your blood. People that have horses just know what it's like. It's a passion that runs so deep. And that's what it was from a young age. So from 5 on up, we had horses that were on our little tiny farm that we had, which really wasn't a farm, but we had horses. And so there wasn't anything that I don't think we wanted to do other than with that horse, you know. So it was like a dog, practically. That poor horse went through so much, but he loved it, we loved him, and it was wonderful. So I know what those horse people have, that from a younger age, you grow up, of course, it all changes, get into different horses and different disciplines, that type of thing. And boy, does it ever get faceted too in the horse world, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
So you've done every different kind of discipline.
yeah. And I wasn't like some of the really great riders. My sister was a good rider. My children were good riders. But what we did do was we just rode. That was the thing. So we would, when I was younger, we rode all over on our horses. We would road ride. We would go everywhere. I went to high school. I went to grade school. I had for grade school that my horse was my what is it that they do?
Show and tell?
Show and tell. Yeah, my horse was my show and tell. I took my horse over to school. I took my saddle in. I dragged that saddle in. Whatever it was, that was a part of everything. So so it was showing, some breeding. We had draft horses for a time too that we drove. We had fox hunting, did that for some time, which was wonderful. So I went from riding Western when I was young, to riding English, and then had friends that had all kinds of different breeds of horses, and the riding was all different types of disciplines. So it was all interesting to me. Like some people, they choose a discipline and that's it. Nope, I wanted to do it all, So kind of really never got to brass tacks on one particular thing like a lot of people do, but the love was there. And finding out what that was like, I think, led to wanting to help others or be in what we do, talking about horses, trying to help people with their horses.
Do you think that, your passion for horses growing up, how did that transfer into, the industry and the position that you're in now? Explain that bridge to us.
Yep. So you know what it is. So many people can tell you their story, but it comes from a need, right? And we had a farm, and we needed to. Our fencing that was on our farm was everything you can imagine. It was board, wire. This when we first bought our farm, our first dream farm. It was 21 acres, and there was every kind of fence you can imagine on this farm. So our dream was that if we boarded horses too, it would help us maybe to help with this property to get some place to hopefully get to the place where we didn't have to make so many payments on it, but anyway, have that and have the property used. And so with this fencing, we were like, we've got to change this fence. We got to figure out what to go with. So we started looking, searching, and found a fence that we thought was the best thing that you could get. We thought we did our homework, and ended up that the fencing was safer, much safer alternative, but we found out that it didn't last long. Within about 3 years, we started having problems with it. So we realized then that when you try to get information sometimes on products too, you don't always get the whole story or know all the questions to ask if you haven't ever done it before. So we started thinking, we've got to tell people about this so that they can make better choices and decisions, because these types of items, for our horses, whether it's your hobby, whether it's your business, or the commodity that you have, it costs money to have these horses. So you want to try, if you can, to get the best thing first, not have to buy and rebuy, because it can get pretty pricey. So that was our thing that we wanted to do, was try to find something that would serve customers, other equestrians, really more, from the standpoint of from one horse person to another. We'd really like to help you, tell you what we know, tell you what we found out. So that's how it all started. And it started in a dining room of our home, and then the kids would be so noisy because, that's been how many years ago, quite a number of years ago, 30 some years ago. And so they'd come home and was trying to work and talk to people about the products, and they were so noisy they'd run up and down the hallway. So a friend of mine from the barn that came in to help said, well, why don't we try your basement? So we tried the basement. Well, pounding feet on the ceiling didn't help either, right? So then we were like, well, now what do we do? So we had a dog kennel on our property, a pole barn building with a wood-burning stove in it. Sounds so antiquated, but anyway, we moved out. We went out to the pole barn, and that's where it all started then. I had to get that fire started every day when I was close.
So you're kind of like the equestrian Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah. How about that? That's
So
kinda
just
funny.
the two of you doing all of the calling, all of the service.
So it started out, it's so funny because it was just me, in there. I mean, I had a metal desk on a concrete floor with a wood burning stove and a way back then it was the plain paper faxes, and soot on everything. So it started out that, I started to get some leads and call those people up and just started to talk to them. Well, then I can't remember. I know we had a phone that you were able to get lines calling in. Well, I couldn't say, would you please hold, and go to the next person, would you please hold? I couldn't do it. So then I brought in a couple of girls. I said, can you come in from the barn? Can you help me answer the phone? And they came in and they could, I can do it for about, 20 minutes and then I have to go out to my horse. So anyway, people would kind of come in and out and help. And it started with that. And then from there, it grew. It grew from there. So, and today now, our facility, we have, a number of people, and it's amazing where it came from, to go from just that to something more, so much more. So,
This podcast is brought to you by RAMM Fence and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. RAMM is family-owned and operated and been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
So, Jade has been working with our company now for how long, Jade?
Like 4.5 months almost.
Okay. And I know that you have a horse background, and where did you live? Where did you come from?
Yeah, so I'm from Minnesota. I lived in Minnesota all my life until I moved to Ohio.
Do they say Minnesota or they say Minnesota? Like that,
Well,
how they say it?
Minnesota.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, that's it.
But I'm from pretty close to the Twin Cities, so my accent isn't quite as heavy.
They have a little bit of an accent.
A little bit?
Yeah,
I
it's
do?
cute. Yeah, a little bit.
When I say words like boat, usually you can tell.
There you go. Mhm, there you have it.
Yeah, but I didn't grow up in a horse family. I was the first person in my family to be interested in horses, and that started when I was like pretty little, like around 5, probably like you. I would sit in my room and I would take all of my model horses and I would line them up in a row, and then I'd take them all down and I'd line them up again, and then from that spiraled into like asking to go on the pony rides at the like apple orchard and stuff
I
like
did
that.
that too.
Yep.
Oh, I begged to go on those
Yep,
ponies
on those-
around and around in those little
Just
tiny circles.
in a circle, basically on a hot walker.
Of course.
And then from that, I started taking lessons, and I did saddle seat for several years until about high school, and then I kind of took a break because I didn't really necessarily have a ton of support in horses necessarily, because my family was very like, they didn't know horses, so it was kind of just me, and I just like felt drawn to other things, but at that same time my sister was getting into horses, and she's still in horses now. She's an eventer back in Minnesota still, but from there I went to college. I went to college for a specialized sociology degree, and with the intention of going to law school. Never went to law school, and my last semester of college was when COVID started, so then I was kind of like scrambling, not knowing what to do, because like I had decided I didn't want to follow my career path necessarily, and then all the jobs that I was working at the time ended, so that was like a very stressful time. I didn't know what to do, so I ended up just working at the barn that my sister boarded her horses at, and kind of got back into horses, used that experience to segue into owning my first horse, because growing up I never owned my own, so this was the first one. So now it's like 3 years that I've had her.
And what horse? What is she?
Yeah,
What do you
she's-
ride?
Yeah. So I bought her. Unfortunately, I bought her because I wanted a buckskin quarter horse,
Nice.
and so I bought a buckskin quarter horse
Okay.
who happens to be reining bred on her dad's side or top side. and then she's just kind of like cow horse, ropey on the bottom side. But when I bought her, I was like, oh, well, she's reining bred, and she had been started as a 2-year-old in the reining. So I was like, oh, I'll do that. So from there, I was working at a boarding facility. At the time, I think there was like 150 horses there doing chores, cleaning, feeding, turning out, stuff like that. But from having that horse and then deciding that I was going to pursue reining, I ended up moving to Ohio to work for a reining trainer. And I brought the horse with me, and I worked there for a little over 2 years. And then I was kind of, after 2.5 years of being a professional groom, I was thinking about, like, next steps. Like, do I want to be a groom forever? I had, from my time being there, decided that I didn't want to be a horse trainer. I thought maybe I want to be a horse trainer. Kind of realized that wasn't probably the right fit for me. But I didn't necessarily know what was next, and so when I was like investigating that, I realized that my favorite part about being a groom is taking care of horses. Just the general care is my favorite part of it. And so then when this job I like to say that it fell into my lap a little bit, because like I didn't apply or anything like that. It just kind of like happened, and like I feel like you can't discount something like that happening. You gotta kind of see it as a sign, because it is. So I came here and I met people, kind of talked to everyone and realized, and like talked to Debbie, and understood like the core of the company is education and keeping horses safe, which are like I was saying, my favorite things about being a groom. So I just felt like it was the right next step, and
Nice.
now 4.5 months,
There you are.
we're here.
So do you still have your horse then? Is
Yep.
she here?
Yep,
She's
my
here?
horse is still in Ohio. She's a couple hours away. She's at a trainer's, in a reining trainer's, and I go and I ride her about once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been showing her the past 2 years during the season, hoping to do that again
Nice.
this year.
Nice.
We're not great, but we're getting there.
That's good. It just all starts that way, doesn't it, though? I mean, you just get involved with horses, you love them, you get involved, and
Yeah.
you go from there. It
You
leads
kind of
from
let
one thing to
them
the
take you
next.
where you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't have come to Ohio if I didn't buy that specific horse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. I know. So, and the thing is, too, I think probably since you've been here, you've seen that, we do try to do safer alternatives, but again, like we had said, boy, you can put a horse in the safest area that you possibly think, and if there's one little like piece of wood or a nail,
Yeah.
they can get scratched on
Yeah.
it. We want to try to see if we can help people to make it as safe as possible. There are some horses too that are just prone to falling into some problems.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a horse like that one time that we boarded, and actually the girl, when she came, she said, I kind of have trouble with my horse, and she said it got caught between a forked tree one time. They couldn't get it out. They actually had to saw the tree down
Oh my
around the
gosh.
horse to get the horse out. I mean, if horses can, that's an extreme, but it can happen. So we all know that's our
Some
thing
of
that we
them,
try to.
Yeah.
Try to help people with the, there are little ones,
Yeah.
like the ponies are like little Houdinis, they, all kinds of things they can do. Even though they're little, they're mighty. They think they're awfully big, they might have short legs, but they're not short on courage, I can tell you that, that's for sure, right? So Kim, you've been with us for how long?
I came through the doors of RAMM in July of 1999.
Yeah.
I just moved to Ohio. I'd gotten married and moved to Ohio, and I applied for a job as a receptionist here. And, I can just say that walking through the doors here, it felt like family.
Aw.
It was, at that time, quite a bit smaller. We did
Yes.
not have the manufacturing
No, we
facility.
didn't, did we?
It was kind of a one-man show back in the warehouse, and I started answering the phones. Everybody seemed to really like my accent.
We
And
do.
so-
We love your accent.
so they
you
had-
do have an accent that we can hear.
So they had me answering the phones, and pretty soon I, just stepped into different roles here in the company. I did some accounts payable and accounts receivable. I worked in purchasing. I tell people that I was raised here because I was so young when I came, and Mike and Debbie just kind of mentored me in business. And most everything that I know today, from customer service and how to treat people and how to really care and have a passion for what you do, I learned here. I've never been on a horse. Other than carousel rides and things like that.
We could change that.
Get you on one. Yep, that's going to happen this year.
But just the knowledge, what I've learned here is, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm so proud to be part of this company. So it's good to see where it came from and where it is today, and the great staff that we have. And I can definitely say that having account managers like Jade that have that horse knowledge, so many of our account managers have horses themselves, so they are personally affected at day in and day out, and can really offer. You can have that empathy for a customer when they call in and they're having a challenge.
Something that I was really struck by when I first started was that a bunch of the account managers here are fencing, but had it before they worked here.
Yes.
And I think that's really cool and a testament to the product, and the company. Is that like people know about it, people trust it, including the people that work here, but they trusted it and believed in it before they were a part of the team.
Yep. And we have 8 horses that's here right now that are behind the fencing. You can come when you come to the company, they're right there. They're out in the fenced areas, and we use our products out there. So people that work here too, even like Kim, you see it all the time. They're out there. You can go see them. You can talk to them, pet them. If you want to brush them too, you can. Okay, so that would be nice too.
The spotty one's looking a little dirty.
Yeah,
Kim.
Okay, got it. Time of the year, boy, they're all like mud puppies. But anyway, but that makes it nice too. I think that's kind of a nice thing that people can actually see the horses when they're here behind the product and be able to talk about it too. So yep. But Kim, you've been with us. You followed us. We were here for a time, then we went out to a little town that was about an hour away from here. We moved. The company moved there. We had a small group here, but Kim came with us out to Bryan, and we were there for several years, worked out of that area, and at that time too, we became much more aggressive with our horse stalls as well too. And really put a line of horse stalls together, from kit stalls. Weekend warrior people can work on the kit stalls all the way up to welded, to designer, and then custom stalls that people want. So we had started there, and then you moved back with us, and came back again. Came back again. So you've been here for quite a while, and you've seen quite a few transitions with the company, and. We just keep on going. Our passion again is to help people with their horses, find out what it is that they need. There's always some sort of a need, and then try to figure out how to solve that with them, and figure out what's going to fit them the very best. And we carry quite a few products so that there's something for everyone. But we also want to try to be like a place that somebody can come to. Get everything that they basically need for inside and outside of their barn, but try to tell them what it does, and then talk to them about their horse to find out what are their horses maybe going to be able, what are they going to do, what are the challenges or whatever. And I think that's just being here to talk to people is very important. I think the communication is everything because you don't always get that sometimes.
And having the people with horse knowledge, I think, is something that's maybe like you don't think about when you're like going and looking at purchasing and stuff. But I was even on the phone with someone the other day, and I like told her something about like horse behavior, like that I've just witnessed in the training barn that I worked in or the boarding facility. And I was just like, oh, maybe you want this rather than this. And she was like, that's a great point. I never thought about that. Like having the horse knowledge from the person that's like working to help you find a solution. Is just a big part of it that you maybe don't think about when you just first set out on trying to think about what you're going to purchase.
Right. And there are just so many things that can happen with us. We do have our horses. We know that things happen. And then we just had like a customer today talk about an incident that had happened with her horses. And basically, kind of crazy, but because the fence flexes, the horses had kind of run into the fence, and she was up against it, but nothing had happened to her whatsoever. The horses were afraid of actually activity going on, like weather and that type of thing. And, it was safer for her and for her horses both, which was an amazing story. We hear a lot of stories in here about a lot of things that go on with the products and so forth. So, Kim, you hear a lot of them too. You pick up the phone and talk to people all the time.
We do.
Yep. Yep. And we also, the other side is that you work with a lot of people, not even here in the United States. Outside of the United States, work with people outside of the United States.
Yeah, I help take care of all of our international clients, customers just all over the globe. But basically, it's really interesting. I worked with a really nice family in Japan. They were building a guest ranch.
Yes, they came here.
On their property. They came here and visited us. Just fell in love with the flex fence.
Yeah.
We had them. Thankfully, we have all the products here at our facility, so it's kind of like a show farm. And I was able to take them out so they could actually see each product installed and how it worked. And it was a great experience for them and for us.
Yeah, they were very, very nice. They also ended up with they saw a horse stock that we had in our showroom, and they wanted that too. They didn't realize that we have things like that too to help inside of the barn with the horses. So quite a few people that you talk to, which is very nice. Yes, all over. So
This podcast is brought to you by RAMM Fence and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. RAMM is family-owned and operated and been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
Moving forward with this podcast, what do you think that the people listening in, watching in, can expect? Like, what are we going to kind of focus on? What's our podcast going to be about?
Well, this will be our 100th podcast, which is very, very exciting.
Nice.
Number 100. And in the past, what we did is we talked to many people that are involved with their horses in many different disciplines and different areas. Like I said, it's so faceted. There are so many walks of life in the equestrian world. So what we would like to do is be able to have people that we can talk to that are in, whether it's what they do, their job, their work, whether it's a, depending upon like a breed group, or if it's there are a lot of people that are into the sports. There are people that are into actually even different things with the horses, with exercise for people, with their horses. We've had a lot of different people, like we even talked to in the past, Stevensons, who make rocking horses over in England. A lot of interesting people that we talked to. So what we'd like to do is provide that ability to have people be able to listen to all these different people in walks of life with horses. And it's so interesting. We find out so many times that common thread that we have is our passion for horses. It's just sometimes to hear someone else's experiences, whether they do art. We have different people who've done beautiful art, that type of thing. There's always that common thread, that common bond of the passion of horses. So we hope to be able to bring that to our listeners, to be able to hear about all the different, things that are out there that people do with their horses. So we have quite a few interesting people.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
We've talked to so many big riders and trainers, and it's just unbelievable. Sometimes it's very interesting. So we hope to be able to bring that to light when we continue on.
Yeah, my kind of thinking is that there's always so much new information coming out about riding horses, taking care of horses, anything like that. If you ride horses, you are continually learning. So I'm excited for this. It's like a learning aspect. You never stop learning.
Absolutely.
There's always a better way to take care of a horse, a better way to keep a horse behind a fence. We're always learning and growing.
And we'd love to hear from listeners to see what they'd like to hear, or if there's something that they'd like to know about, that they found out. Sometimes there's always something new happening, or a trend, or whatever the case may be. If they feel that there's a trend there, we'd love to be able to talk about that and provide, either the people to talk to or the information to try to help people have greater knowledge. So.
All right, and then just any kind of parting words, and what are you excited for the new year, for maybe personal, professional, goals for riding, things of that nature.
Let me think. One thing I'll say too is that I hope I want us to be able to provide to our canter banter that we did in the past, which is always fun. We always had something that we would talk about, that some really pretty good funny stories. There's always some really good funny stories from the barn, right? Things happen. So hopefully we can provide that. And then moving forward into the new year, 2024, we hope to be able to ourselves graduate into, us riding more, being out on the farm more with the horses, because sometimes when your passion becomes what you do, your job, unfortunately, that kind of takes a back seat, and we want to be able to provide time for us to be able to get out with those horses too. So Kim's going to get on a horse. We're going to talk about that.
Absolutely.
And then, I do love to drive also too. So get out and get our horses hitched up and drive them around. It's kind of fun. We have a little tiny cart for Miss Muffin. She's our mini. And we do have some jog carts for our bigger horses, and get out and get around and ride again, get out as soon as the weather gets a little nicer. Right now it's, not real conducive,
Not
but
driving
we'll
weather.
get there. We'll get there for sure. So, and we hope to be able to introduce and bring quite a few interesting people to our listeners to hear about what they do in their lives as well with their horses.
We hope you enjoyed our podcast and encourage you to share with all of your equestrian family and friends. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, as well as our YouTube channel, and stay up to date on all of our shows. Do you have a topic to discuss or a guest recommendation for our hosts? Email us at podcast@rammfence.com.